Call this meeting to order. Reverend, if you come forward.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Melvin Britton from the Providence Baptist Church here in Newnan. Let us bow our heads in a word of prayer. Gracious Father, we come now in your presence. We thank you for all your blessings and benefits. Now as we come today, we ask that you would bless our leadership of this great city today. Bless our council members and our mayor. We ask, Father, that you would bless this agenda as they continue to carry on the business and affairs of this great city. Now we ask these blessings and benefits in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. All right, we move into the reading of the minutes. Item A, minutes from our regular meeting on February 10th, 2026. Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Minutes from the work session on February 10th, 2026. Do I have a motion to accept as written?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. We'll move into recognition of our youth council members.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, we have two members of the Newnan Youth Council. They are the official voice of the city of Newnan's youth and the county's youth. And we have with us tonight Adler Mull, sophomore. Please stand. From Northgate, Kate Sears, junior, from Newnan High. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of the youth council. So for our reports, reports of our boards and commissions, item C, one appointment for the Christmas Commission.
Next agenda, please.
Next agenda, all right. The Development Authority,
Next agenda, please.
all right. And the Ethics Commission.
I would like to nominate Yvette Jones.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Report on operations from the city manager, Mr. Phillips.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. From the mayor, very quickly, a couple of items. I wanted to thank Jason Canner, came up last week and or last meeting and spoke to us a little bit about the alcohol ordinance. I know that it's sometimes a little bit, imposing to come up here and talk about some of these issues, but it is so helpful when we have citizens come up and explain some of these things in ways that we may have not thought about them. So I'd encourage any of you who are interested in an item to come and speak to us or to reach out to us ahead of time. I know that everybody up here is very responsive to their emails and so on and so forth. So if there are items on the agenda that you really care about, it's so important for us to have that citizen involvement. And again, I'm very grateful to Mr. Cannon for coming and talking to us about that. That's all I've got. But moving into new business, item F, we have a public hearing for the City of Newnan Comprehensive Plan Update 2026 to 2046, which is the first of two to be held.
Thank you,
You have the
Mr.
floor.
Mayor, and good evening, council members. As the mayor said, this is the first of two comp plan meetings to be held. The City of Newnan has initiated the process to begin a full update of its comprehensive plan. The full comprehensive plan update will be prepared according to the rules for local comprehensive planning adopted by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. The purpose of this public hearing is to brief the community on the process to be used to update the comprehensive plan, opportunities for public participation and development of the plan update, and to obtain input on the proposed planning process. Staff plans to engage in conversations with residents and other stakeholders in locations around the community and through digital platforms. We will also gather input through digital and hard copy surveys. In this effort, staff will utilize the city's website and social media to help disseminate information. In addition, a steering committee will help lead the city through this process and will serve as a key resource in the upcoming months. A second required public hearing will be held once the comprehensive plan is drafted and made available for public review, but prior to its transmittal to the Regional Commission for review. The ideas and aspirations for the city that are shared will lay the foundation for the comprehensive plan development. The plan will allow the City of Newnan to maintain its qualified local government status and therefore be eligible to obtain state grant funds, loans, and permits. The due date for this comp plan update is October 31st of this year. And you'll see in your packets, we included a draft comprehensive plan schedule So we went ahead and just laid out a draft schedule for the public to see as well. And we're very excited about going out to the community. We have several pop-up events such as Ashley Park, the Newnan Center, Carnegie. We invite people to come out and talk with us, share their aspirations with us. We really want to get the public's input for sure. As well on the schedule, you'll see the steering committee's planned meetings as well. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do have a question. Yes, ma'am. Your pop-up events, are all of them listed on this, or will you have others?
Not necessarily. This is just a starting point.
Okay.
We for sure, for example, we have talked with some property owners out at Ashley Park. We know we can go out there. We have Carnegie and the Newnan Center booked, but we're welcome to go different places. We're also meeting with the Housing Authority residents and senior residents on March 18th. So, but we're very welcome to add more to this.
And how might a group that wanted to have a pop-up in their particular neighborhood?
Sure, just
Great.
contact the planning department.
Okay,
Ask for Chris or Tracy. We'll be glad to help them.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, seeing none. Do we have a, are we actually adopting the existing committee or? Okay,
Just open a public hearing. if there's
great,
any
okay.
comments.
Is there any further comment? All right, seeing none. Item G, we have a request by the owner to demolish the structure located at 42 Wilcoxon Street.
Yes, good evening. Good to see everybody. Yes, we had received a request to demolish a structure at 42 Wilcoxon Street, built in 1905. According to the tax records, this is historic due to its age. This property is located within a City of Newnan Historic District. This property was included with the survey that was done in the early 90s, and the structure was deemed of architectural value. Unfortunately, it suffered a pretty major fire and has been significantly damaged.
All right. We have two members who would like to, or two citizens who would like to speak to this. Ms. Newell, if you'd like to approach the podium.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Newell. That is my grandmother's former rental house, and it was a beautiful house. It's in Coal Town. And I would just like to say that house was, the wall was ripped out of that house by homeless people who broke into it. We had that house boarded up, double boarded on each side of every window and every door. And so they ripped out a back wall to break in. Instead of going to nest when it was cold, they tore down a wall to break into our sealed up house to use drugs, and then they burned it down. So I just want the city council to be aware that our homeless problem is much bigger than just vagrancy. They are damaging historic properties. And Mike doesn't need to speak if you don't need any more information. But if you have any questions, go ahead.
When was this fire? Could you tell us?
It was last year. It was in February of last year.
So February 2025?
Yes. And for some reason, it was not deemed an arson by the fire marshal because he said that people were just breaking in to stay warm. Again, they tore out a wall to break in. So, any other questions?
No, appreciate the additional information.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Happy to help. I'm from Newnan.
Yeah, sorry to hear about the house, getting
Thank
broken
you.
in like that.
I do have one question. What are your plans to do once the house is demolished?
we'll probably put a duplex there that matches with the rest of the houses in the neighborhood, because the neighborhood needs to be maintained. Because my grandmother purchased that house as a rental house, but she never changed the aesthetics of it because the whole neighborhood looked the same. Those houses used to hold two families. That's why every house on Wilcoxon Street has two doors, because it was split down the middle, and one family was on one side and another family was on the other side, and those people worked at Coal Shop, I believe. So we're planning to just create a duplex there, so that that maintains the aesthetic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to keep Newnan.
I think we all want that. With that, can we motion to close the public meeting unless there's any further comment or further questions? With that, we'll close the public meeting.
Thank you so much.
Do we have a motion to accept this request?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a quick question. And sorry, I meant to ask this when you were up, ma'am. What's your timeline for demolition and cleanup and everything? Do you already have a contractor and?
If you could come up, sorry, so, Ms. Newell, if you could come up to the podium, mostly so the people online can hear.
Okay. We have had multiple bids. We haven't accepted one yet because the range is so ridiculous that we're not sure. Like, like the cheapest one, what is he not going to do? Because what is the highest one going to do that the cheap one's not going to do? So that's the problem right now in terms of choosing someone to do it. So that's why we don't have a definite set timeline. But it's going to happen. So it has to happen because those people can't live next to that. That's not fair to them.
Yeah, so I can appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Without any further discussion, unless there is any?
I have one question, Mr. Mayor, sorry. Mr. Parton, is there any kind of design overlay, since this is in a historic home?
I'll have to defer that to planning and zoning, sorry.
Okay.
So, yes, sir, it's one of our historic residential design overlay districts, and any new residential structure will have to come to the planning commission to obtain a certificate of appropriateness for the architectural design.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's all I got.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all in favor of approving the request?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. With that, we'll move into item H, a request by the owner to demolish structure located at 247 and 249 Greenville Street.
Yes, sir, thank you. This is a duplex structure that hasn't been occupied for quite some time. Built in 1960 according to the tax record, so it's historic due to its age. This property is not within a City of Newnan Historic District. And it's just, the owner wants to tear it, it's becoming dilapidated and they want to remove it. And I believe we have.
Is the owner the applicant here?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. All right, with that, we'll open to public comment, if we can. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? We might have some of the same questions there of timeline, anything like that? All right. With that, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to accept the request as written, as before?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? With that, the motion carries. All right, we move into item I, consideration of adjustments to building department fees, creation and implementation of a master file plans program.
Yes, sir, thank you. So this is more of an informational right now. Get the council's feedback on this or recommendations, and we'll move forward with it. We have to have a resolution to do this. We'd like for you to consider proposals for adjustments, additions, and clarifications of schedule of fees specific to the building department, so that to be more equitable for all applicants of certain permit types, and to include appropriate fees for some specific projects, and to clarify some ambiguous language Also to establish the fees for a residential master file program. The adjustments to the schedule of fees are necessary to provide clear, fair, and specific fees pertaining to construction permits for accessory structures, minor repair permits, and commercial and industrial plan reviews. The additions I'm proposing to the schedule of fees will address specific permits for solar electric systems, construction or sales trailers, and plans transmittal applications. The clarifications to the schedule of fees will address some confusing or conflicting language for swimming pools, signage permits, and the payment of reinspection fees. And included in these proposed changes are the provisions for fees associated with the implementation of a residential master file program. The residential master file program will apply to detached, single-family, duplex, and townhouse units as defined and regulated by the International Residential Code. The residential master file program is intended to be utilized by home builders who construct significant numbers of these types of structures using house plans on a repetitive basis within the city limits of Newnan. The program institutes an advanced or pre-permit plan review of house plans to be used repetitively. Residential master file program will allow for reduced building department review times when site-specific applications are received, as the plan review has already been completed in advance. Also reducing time between building department application receipt and permit approval. Participation is voluntary. Home builders must decide if this program will be beneficial for them. So once a plan is master filed, that plan will be constructed, can be constructed an unlimited number of times within the current code cycle. At the end of a code cycle, they can renew that plan or do away with it.
Could you speak a little bit about what was the impetus to bring some of these adjustments? Because I see quite a few on here, and it seemed, and why were these things that were not considered, or why do they need to be updated at this time?
So the, we can just go down the list if you'd like.
I don't think we need to do that necessarily, but just as a broad overview.
So the minor repair permits, as we got in, when I adjusted my fee schedule as I got into it, I discovered that it wasn't really fair and equitable for every minor repair project. So I've made an adjustment to that fee calculation to be more equitable across minor repair projects.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
About that. What is the impact? Because I see you made some adjustments, but I'm just trying to figure out what does that mean in real world when somebody comes in and says, hey, I need to replace. It's more expensive, less expensive.
It would be
That's what
less
I'm looking for.
expensive, yes.
Okay.
That's the reason for the adjustment.
Okay.
And it seems like some of this is also streamlining some of these permitting processes?
Yes.
Fairly
Yeah.
significantly?
Yes, it will streamline a lot of them, and the solar permit that I'm proposing, for example, right now, that takes at least 2 separate permits, a building permit and an electrical permit. I'd like to have just the one permit that covers everything instead of a flat fee on it, because now it's based on square footage. So the larger the area of solar panels you have, the more you pay for the permit. And there's just not that much work on the inspection side.
Great.
So this will, again, reduce that permit fee also.
And if I'm reading this right, it also reduces, say, for instance, you're building a neighborhood and you're using 3 plans, but it's 30 houses in the neighborhood, you only pay for the 3 plans.
Are you talking about the residential master file program? So that program, if you have a plan you want to build multiple times, you will submit that plan to include all the available options and elevations. We will review that plan one time and charge the fee for that plan review the one time. The plan review is already done. You can build that home multiple times, and we don't have to do the plan review again. So it's a time saving
Presumably for both the developers
for
and
both the developer
and
and
the,
my staff. Yes, sir.
great. Well, I love saving time.
Mr. Bart, I have one question on the master file program. I do get that it's more cost-effective for everybody. But at the back of my mind, it does incentivize to reuse the same plan over and over again. Whereas if you're paying the same and you're buying a house, then it doesn't really cost you more on a fee to modify that house to your particular desire. So I'm kind of on the fence on this one because I don't want to encourage any more of these just stamped out projects. Is this something when somebody comes to us with a planned community type request that we could add this in at that time? That they could do a master file program and save them money, or is it too separate?
We can certainly offer it to them at that
Okay.
time. Again, it's a voluntary program. So I don't know if you've had a chance to review the fees, but
I did. It's the,
you would have to decide if this, how many times you were going to actually build that plan. And for it to be beneficial for you, you'd have to build it, depending on the fee, 7, 8, 9, 12, or more times.
okay,
So if you only got a plan you're going to build twice, I would recommend that you don't do this,
okay,
because this would be more expensive to build that plan twice if you went through this. But now, if you wanted to build that plan multiple times, then certainly I would encourage you to do this.
okay. So one more question. All right, so I got you. So it has to do, once you get up in some multiple, that's when it kicks over to a savings. And obviously, in your experience, people are building, how many of the same house are we seeing built sometimes, in your experience, in the last 20 years?
Well, I've been here 12 years, so we have,
12, sorry.
there's still one builder that he has like 8 plans, that's all he builds,
Okay,
over and over and over. I've seen the same plans for the last 12 years from this one particular contractor. It
And
hasn't changed.
on the same development site or just all over the city?
Different developments.
Okay,
You
Gotcha.
Finish one and move to another.
okay.
Yeah, I have kind of a similar concern. It sounds like it's going to encourage the big box builders just to kind of just rubber stamp, the same thing over and over again. But I do I'm going to ask a question just for everybody's information. You talk about the code cycle. Could you explain the code cycle to everybody?
So the construction codes from International Code Council, they print a new edition every 3 years. The State of Georgia Department of Community Affairs adopts every other edition. So every 6 years, we basically get a new code book. So that's what the code cycle is. So if there are any changes that need to be made to the plans to keep up with the codes, then that's what that renewal would be. They would be making those changes to their plan
Okay,
for that new code cycle.
thank you.
So where are we in that cycle right now?
Just started.
Just started.
Got a
Okay.
brand new set first of this year. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do we have an estimate on the time savings for city staff on this, were we to adopt this?
Roughly 45 minutes to an hour for every application that comes in.
And how many applications do we have on average?
And we've got a 298 lot development. It's pulling permits, starting to pull permits right now.
I'll let you do that math. I won't do it myself. Any further
Math was
questions?
not my strong suit, so.
All right. Any further questions?
Yep.
All right, do we have a motion to accept these adjustments? Or to accept, are we still looking to update these further? Is that the?
Yeah,
the
we're seeking your feedback, if I may, Mayor,
Okay.
and council. If you feel that these are appropriate, we would work with the city attorney to come back with something that you could adopt at your next meeting or the meeting after that. We're kind of just looking for some feedback.
Okay. I think that what I'm hearing from the feedback, if I can, and please correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, I think our biggest concern here is that we have some of these plans that will be expediting these kind of, repetitive or cookie cutter developments that may not be entirely suitable for the city. So taking that into consideration as we move forward on this, or how that could be best ameliorated, Mr. Craver, if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think I want to, and I'm not going to disagree with anything that anybody said. But I do want to put a pin, if we can, in Mr. Parton's comments about the time save to it. That's the impetus here. It's not to incentivize any kind of, I'll use air quotes, cookie cutter type subdivisions, that come. It's more about allowing our building inspectors, the plan review techs, and Mr. Parton and his team the opportunity to do more with the amount of people they have now as it is to incentivizing. That wasn't the, that's not the motivation behind this. So I
Absolutely,
just wanted
yeah.
you guys to know that.
Yeah, and I think just the feedback there would be to keep that in consideration as we come back with something and maybe have some further conversations with council on how we can avoid incentivizing that sort of thing, even as we hope to save you as much time as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, can we, with that, and I think you just said this, but I want to make sure I heard you properly, is that if you could come back with a couple of options to say, hey, this is how we might deal with the incentive that is a unintended consequence maybe of this. We could move the number up to how many plans you have to have before you can get into this master plan, so that that one person that's coming through wanting to build 4 or 5 times in different locations may not want to get into that program. I mean, just think about things like that. I would appreciate some options.
Yes, I've considered that, and this would be a conversation I would have with them if they're interested in it beforehand. I would ask that specific question: how many times do you think you're going to build this plan? And just explain to them that it may not be worth their while monetarily to go into this program.
Currently, what we've proposed contemplates what our planned development residential zoning contemplates. So 3 plans is what you can come in, as you're all well aware of. And so that's where you could pick up the master file program there. So if there's something more than that, if that's what I'm kind of hearing, we're hearing from folks, that we could come back, that there's a, I don't want to be arbitrary. So if there's a number, tell us, and we're happy to do that, and then we can come back to you with that number. If 6 is a number, or 12, I don't know, you know.
From my perspective,
5,
that
6.
would be arbitrary. That's why I was
That's
asking
right.
y'all to come back with a recommendation.
Mr. Craver, are you hit on something? So, and this is just my ignorance, so we approve the plan developments
Yes, sir.
at council. Okay, so
sir.
at this point, we would know what we're dealing with.
Yes, sir.
And so is there a way to put the language in that would allow this MSP program to only apply to the plan developments?
I can live with that.
Any benefit, or was that, to me, that would at least let me know what I'm getting into. It may be the best thing for us is to have over and over and over, because that's what we're looking for, but this will keep it from just somebody, we're getting surprised that it got used in a way that we didn't intend it to be used.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
When I started putting this together, when I first started putting this together, that's what I had considered, was just for our
Okay.
Plan development.
rezonings and our planned developments, but
Yeah, I
I
think
took
it's,
that out, because just to be equitable,
I
if
do
I have a
like
good
that.
house plan and I've got a lot downtown, I want to build that same one, and it fits, and my plan review's already done. But we can certainly put that in there if you like.
yeah, I think you got some good feedback, and we'll certainly look at some options and some language. But I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is Mr. Parton does not have the regulatory authority to limit this situation. Really, that power lies with this body in your reviews of the rezonings and the annexation request per se. And unless there's some type of restriction for duplication of house types, that is not in his current purview. So let's keep that in mind as we continue discussing. Maybe it's a topic we need to have going down the road.
I think I just think none of us want to accidentally give that authority up and end up with, 800 of the same house right in a row. And
yeah.
I don't think that we're heading that direction, but that's something we want to make sure that we're very clear on.
I have a quick question. Would this program make sense for like the project that was on Murray Street, or the new homes that are going to be built with the $4.6 million chop level grant? Would this be a beneficial program for those homes where you get some, couple of those designs and then that's just approved, and then
Absolutely,
that would
yes,
help us deliver a lower cost home?
Yes.
Absolutely.
This program could be utilized by the.
I'd have to do the math and see if, like I said, if they're going to build that home more than 6, 8 times, yes, it would be very beneficial.
But also keep in mind that NERA is also looking into a program now where the NERA will develop home plans that are permit ready, and will be able to offer those in those type of situations. And then the builder or the homeowner would not have to go buy a set of plans, would not have to go through the review process, obviously saving time and money. So I know that's something that your NERA agency has been reviewing and something that could come before this body shortly.
This is another maybe ignorance question, but is there any possibility by which if we have something that's been entered into this program from a private developer, that could be incorporated into the NERA program? Is that a possibility that we could explore? Or?
That would be a agreement between whoever owns the plans and whoever wants to build them. But certainly if the plan is in this program and they want to build it on Murray Street or Pinson, Farmer, wherever, if it's already been reviewed in this program, they can build it wherever they want in the city of Newnan.
Great. All right, worth considering. Any further questions? With that, do we have a motion to direct them to move forward with this?
Thank you.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? With that, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Next, we move into consideration of 2025 budget amendment year-end per audit purposes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda materials, you will find amendments to the general fund for both revenue line items and expenses for fiscal year 2025. As you'll recall, several weeks ago, you did some for some special use funds, so these are specifically targeted at the general fund. These amendments are required to ensure that council approves all appropriations per GASB standards. Total amendments total $856,500. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Now, if I'm clear in reading this, this essentially zeroes us out. There's not an adjustment to our
correct.
budget. It's just this is purely bookkeeping.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, so moved. Motion carries. Now we move into unfinished business. Item K, public hearing, rezoning request for RZ 2025-10 by Melissa D. Griffiths on behalf of Woodlands Acquisitions LLC for 13.55 plus or minus acres at 699 Newnan Crossing Bypass, tax parcel 86-5021-002, from CGN to MXD for the purpose of developing 12 townhomes, 272 multifamily apartments, and 7,500 square feet of commercial space.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Chris Cole again, Senior Planner. As the mayor said, before you all is a request from Melissa Griffiths on behalf of Woodlands Acquisitions for 12 townhomes, 272 multifamily apartments, and 7,500 of commercial space. With MXD zoning, the density is not predetermined, but contingent upon the overall MXD rezoning master plan. The proposed density for the residential units is 20.96 dwelling units per acre. The minimum open space requirement is 15%. The applicant is proposing to provide 38%. And the applicant stated the entire site is developable on this lot. And the proposed project demonstrates overall conformity with MXD review standards. As far as the unit mix, we're looking at for 1 bedrooms, 166 units with 786 average square feet, coming out at 1,750 rental monthly. 2-bedroom apartments coming out at 106 units with 1,170 average square feet with 2,050 per month rent. And finally, 3-bedroom townhomes with 12 units with each containing 1,637 square feet, coming out at 2,450 a month rental. And just a few quick points. This totals 284 units with an average square footage of 958 square feet, including the townhomes. The applicant also detailed that this will include a master amenity area and an amenity courtyard. As we talked about at the work session, the applicant also intends to create a circular pedestrian access between the link trail, the subject property, and the Wood Partner site to the north, as you see on the map there. If you'll recall, the property to the north, I'll point up here to the left, was rezoned a few months ago to MXD. And the north entrance will be right in and right out. The south entrance will provide full access to be shared through a reciprocal agreement with the southern neighbor. Directly to the south of the subject property is the upcoming Volkswagen dealership. And also, the south entrance will provide left and right turning onto the bypass. There are 6 proposed buildings that contain apartments. The other residential structures will contain the townhomes. Buildings 2 through 6 will contain apartments only, while Building 1 will feature the commercial uses on the ground floor. I'll go ahead and go to the side. Yeah, there we go. You'll see closer to the bypass, the commercial structure. Or ground floor, I should say. As far as parking, I know that's always an interesting topic that we discuss. It contains 505 parking spaces total. The applicant's plan shows 48 spaces for the townhomes, including 2-space garage parking at each townhome unit and 2 car per driveway for each townhome. The applicant is providing 409 parking spaces for the apartments, 48 of which will be in freestanding garages, and those garage spaces are included in the multifamily totals you'll see on your zoning master plan. The applicant will also provide 48 spaces for commercial uses and indicated that any general parking left over after the multifamily and the commercial use will be available for guest and amenity parking. And just a quick overview of our standards. The proposed use is suitable in view of the zoning and development of adjacent and nearby property. The proposed residential uses would also be in keeping with several nearby multifamily developments. The proposed use will not adversely affect the existing use or usability of adjacent or nearby property. The subject property could be used as currently zoned, however. And also, we believe the proposal would cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities or services, particularly with police, fire, and the school system. In addition, the future land use map in the comprehensive plan shows the subject property as business office. Accordingly, the proposed use is not compatible with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan. However, the proposed use is consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning district, and there are no new or changing conditions that would impact the comprehensive plan's intent in relation to the proposed development. Finally, the proposed project would reflect a reasonable balance between the promotion of public health, safety, morality, or general welfare and the right to unrestricted use of property. So the applicant met 5 of the 8 standards. The applicant also provided 2 proffered conditions. 1, the applicant shall pull a permit for building the proposed retail use at the same time as the multifamily permit. And 2, any and all documents submitted with the application and any additional documents presented by the applicant evidencing plans, profiles, elevations, architectural standards, landscaping, exterior, and the materials presented shall be used in this development. As far as the landscape comments, in addition to our comments, the city's arborist, Mike Furbush, has included comments I seen in your packets at the end of the staff report regarding the required tree management plan that should be addressed if the council recommends approval. Staff further addressed his concerns with a suggested condition that I will go over in a moment. Last couple of things, the Planning Commission recommendation at the conclusion of the public hearing in front of the Planning Commission on January 13th, the commission voted to recommend denial of the request 5-0. And finally, staff suggested conditions to consider. Should the council elect to recommend approval of the request, staff would recommend the following. 1, the project be consistent with the plan, density, project data, amenities, proffered conditions, and architectural details that's provided as part of the application. 2, approval of the zoning master plan through the rezoning process does not relieve the applicant from meeting the requirements set forth in the City of Newnan's tree preservation and landscape ordinance. And this harkens back to Mike Furbush's concerns I mentioned earlier. And finally, the applicant developer shall pay all costs and expenses associated with the installation of a traffic control signal at the location designated by the city engineer on Union Crossing Bypass. And just so you know, this last condition was added after the work session based on conversations from the work session. This new condition refers only to the applicant's southern intersection that is shared with the adjacent car dealership and directly across from the dermatology office. And I'll show you. Kind of this southern area. The dermatology office is right there, right across the road. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll open to public comment, beginning with Ms. Griffiths.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Melissa Griffiths, 32 South Court Square, Newnan, Georgia, 30263. I'm here tonight with Bennett Wooten and Leonard Wood with Woodlands. We have Joseph Price with PEC to answer any questions you have regarding engineering, and Vern Wilburn was our traffic engineer on this project. I do want to make sure that all of our rezoning applications and materials, including the proffered conditions, and we've increased those after our work session regarding the traffic signal, along with our summary report, are part of tonight's hearing. Staff has met with us multiple times on this project and been very helpful in coming to where we are today. This property is adjacent to the Wood Partners MXD that was approved by this body a couple months back. It is currently zoned CGN, which would allow for a variety of commercial uses that would have more traffic than what we are proposing. Those could include another car dealership right next to the Volkswagen that is going in. As the staff report stated, the general area where the subject property is located primarily consists of residential and commercial uses within the city limits. One of the needs and opportunities in the comprehensive plan for the city is, quote, mixed-use development should be encouraged increasingly as a way to improve overall quality of life, increased housing opportunities, and traffic improvements. And that's what we're trying to do with this MXD by offering townhomes and apartments. This project helps pursue that idea as outlined in the city's comp plan. The project will connect to the Link Trail. Mr. Wooten will go over and show you. We have some additional PowerPoints from the work session to kind of show that a little better based on questions we have. The applicant does consent to all of the conditions as outlined in the proposed ordinance, and appreciate staff clarifying that the full access entrance is where the traffic light is to go. As we say at the work session, Mr. Wooten had said that they would be more than happy to pay for that. We would like the traffic light, though, to have a CO within 6 months of the development, just in case we can't get it all done at the same time. I'm going to let Mr. Wooten go through the project in detail. We're happy to answer any questions, and I would like to save some time for rebuttal if necessary. Thank you.
Recognize Mr. Wooten.
And perfect. Good evening, Bennett Wooten with Woodlands Apartment Communities, 3621 Vining Slope Southeast, Suite 4400, Atlanta, Georgia. First, want to thank you all again, Mayor, Council, staff, for all your time and thoughtful review you've given this application. We appreciate the collaboration and feedback throughout this whole process. So, I'd like to start by briefly highlighting a few key points of what make this proposal meaningful to this area. Our primary objective is to reinforce the already approved Wood Partners mixed-use development to the north. Rather than creating another isolated project, we're intentionally designing this as an extension of an emerging mixed-use district. We're proposing a direct connection to the Link Trail, which is right here in the northeast corner, as well as a pedestrian access in connection to the Wood Partners site on the northwest corner of our property. Together, these connections will create a fully walkable network and joining both communities to each other and to the Link Trail. Residents of both developments will benefit from shared access to retail, green space, community amenity space, and trail connectivity, all within a short walk.
Mr. Wooten, if you don't
Yes.
mind taking a question. It seems like the idea of this being mixed use is that this is overwhelmingly residential. If I'm doing my math correctly, which we've already established may not be a great assumption, this is 2.6%, and the most generous giving of square footage. This is 2.6% commercial, and what is that? 97.4% residential. So we're functionally looking at an apartment complex.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's mostly residential, 100%. It's a small amount of retail, but if you really think about it, if you have 7,500 square feet, you can have a restaurant, 3 or 4 small shops, markets, boutiques, services. It can be a really significant value add to the whole community, both non-local residents and, the on-site residents by having that much commercial space. I guess to resume, I'd like to point out that we're only half a mile from the Ashley, kind of beginning southern portion of the Ashley Park Mall. That proximity provides residents with easy access by foot, bike, or car to dining, shopping, entertainment, and employment centers. This location truly does support the live, work, play, kind of concept for this corridor. Our proposal does include, like we discussed, a mix of conventional apartments and for-rent townhomes. This allows us to offer two distinct housing options within the same community, which enables us to serve different household types and stages of life. People can upgrade to a bigger home within our community if they're not able to, quite ready purchase a home yet. This can let young professionals, small families live here, all while maintaining a cohesive design. Again, our intent is to create a connected, through the link trail and to the Wood Partners project, thoughtfully designed community where people genuinely want to live.
Mr. Wooten, just very quickly, was there any consideration of not having this zoned as mixed use, but towards one of our high-density, kind of traditional apartment zonings for this?
It was a consideration at some point, but again, we really felt that this was, it fit better as a mixed-use designation, considering that the Wood Partners project has that retail servicing it already, and that we can, add two together makes five, by combining the retail synergy there.
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand. When you say that you've got that retail component servicing it, how do you mean?
Well, the Wood Partners project has their retail component, right? So that was already existing, and we felt that, our proximity to that retail would be beneficial to us, and then our retail's proximity to the Wood Partners site would be beneficial to them. And we felt that can help create even more value than just a traditional high-density residential.
And if you could pause for a second, and this is a question for staff. I might be misunderstanding the concept of mixed use, but my understanding of mixed use is usually that there is a substantial mix of retail and residential, not necessarily that there's just a mix of residential types. Am I misunderstanding the purpose?
I would never say one of our elected officials is misunderstanding.
But you can always let me know I'm misunderstanding,
No,
Mr.
sir.
Craig.
But
Very well.
just so that everyone's aware, the way that the district is defined within the zoning ordinance, it does not provide the specificity that you're asking. Just essentially that there are three uses. So a high-density residential, a townhome product, and commercial would meet that. And so it's not based upon so much percentage of one commercial use towards a residential use. It's not currently defined that way.
So would I be correct in assuming you could have, an apartment block, a row of townhouses, and a single coffee shop on a corner, and that would qualify under our mixed use?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The intent is to have those uses integrated, fully integrated. How one defines that is among, how she or he reads that, integration. But no, our ordinance currently is plan-based and asks for the applicants or developers to develop a plan, bring it to this body, and seek your feedback. And so, no, it doesn't provide that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a comment. I kind of want to piggyback on what the mayor was saying. I think what I'm noticing, what kind of confuses me a little bit, is the apartments, and then it seems to me that the square footage attached to mixed use is just a afterthought to qualify. And maybe we ought to take a serious hard look at how we're maybe even eliminating the category of mixed use or centralizing it in certain areas, because this is confusing, because we get these projects coming to us under the guise of mixed use, which is a little token shops, as if, with the caveat that they're close to Ashley Park, they're close to downtown. And the purpose of those types of developments, in my personal opinion, is to drive traffic to the existing businesses as well, not to create I won't say adversarial, but to draw away from those businesses. So that's what I think is a little misleading as we get it. I think it causes the applicant to come in to qualify for something, and if we just did some standalone housing and we might be getting some different types of product.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask that we allow him to finish?
Yes.
So that we can
That's
keep
good.
up with
I
our
just-
time?
Yeah. Please continue, Mr.
I'll
Roden.
jump back in and finish this up real quick. My last main point here again is that because this is a rental community, our long-term success depends on resident satisfaction and retention. We only succeed if we maintain the property at a high standard year after year. Additionally, want to reiterate, this project is in an opportunity zone. That means, required minimum 10-year investment horizon to reap any benefits of that. That long-term commitment aligns our interest with the city's to build high-quality community and maintain it to the highest standard for a long time. Happy to answer any other questions you guys have.
Since you asked for questions, if I could ask a couple questions.
And I guess, sorry, could I make one last little bit?
Please
Just
do.
as I was going through it, sorry, I got a little sidetracked, but this is, again, this is our main site plan here with the ground floor retail being, road frontage along Newnan Crossing Bypass. And this is a 4-story building. These are all 3-story in the back. Our townhomes are on the southern border. Past here is just a few, again, wanted to show you the renderings again. It's going to be a nice looking building. We're going to have a really beautiful landscape buffer between the sidewalk on Newnan Crossing Bypass and our property. Kind of matches that Wood Partner site to the north where they put up a bunch of landscaping and walking trail around their stormwater pond in the front. I have a few more renderings here. And then last thing I wanted to point out was it's hard to see on this screen, but we've got a nice walking trail all the way around here. We've put in bike racks here at the retail corner and up at the link trail access point, again, to kind of further incentivize residents to really think about utilizing this walkability, bikeability concept.
All right, so if I may.
Yes.
Talking about connecting over to Wood Partners, have you already got an agreement with them or in discussions with them about that?
Yes, we do.
And so that's
We have a sign. We don't have an official easement. We have a signed agreement saying that we plan to work together to get this, and we have an existing professional relationship with them.
okay.
Councilmember Critco, there's a letter from Bennett Sands with Wood Partners as part of our application packet outlining that as well.
Okay, thank you. Typically, how long does Woodlands hold on to a apartment complex?
In our official Woodlands apartment communities experience, we've not sold any. As a collective, Kevin and Leonard, our other two, have been in the game a lot longer than I have. One of Leonard, our founder's biggest points to date is that he wished he had held on to some more of his assets. Given why we've been looking at this opportunity zone investment here. Occasionally we will follow the merchant developer strategy where it's, build it, lease it up, sell it. But certainly on this one, we definitely intend to hold this one.
Okay. And because it's connected to the link and stuff like that, it's still all going to be privately maintained road and parking lot?
Yes.
Thank you.
Further questions? So I can't get over the mixed use bit of this, because I think we hear mixed use and it's a very, it's a popular slogan. I'm a fan of mixed use as long as it's truly mixed use. I think you can walk out the door here, hang a left, and see some really great mixed use proposals, but this seems to be getting in on mixed use by technicality, and I'm not particularly fond of that.
And I would just point the mayor and council, this is the second MXD zoning that the city has had. The first MXD zoning did not require multiple residential components to it. It was only one residential component with a commercial. I actually got the first one approved many years ago, and then after the commercial piece never took ground at the same time, the ordinance was amended to now also require that you have to pull the commercial permit at the same time as the residential permit. And then that's when those ordinance was also amended to add a second component. There is no specific ratio requirement in the ordinance. There has not been since the first of that ordinance. The smaller percentage commercial will allow, like I think Councilmember Gilliam was trying to say or pointing to, that it helps prevent competition with what's already there in Ashley Park. This is to be supportive of, have residents at our development that are going to use the smaller portion here, but walk, ride their bike, or drive to places in Ashley Park and the other commercial that is already there. The current MXD does require more than one residential component, so you can't just come in with all apartments. You have to have more than one. And again, there's no percentage of how many apartments to how many townhomes to how many commercial at all. So it's just based on all of the ones that we've done over the years is truly this body has looked at on an individual basis and in relation to where it's located. So I understand your concerns, but I think that this group has been working with staff from day one to, how do we massage the direction or the intent of the MXD, and this is what they came up with based on the location. There's a car dealership south of them. Single-family homes are not going here. No one wants to live, in this space. And so it's been undeveloped, it's been zoned commercial. That will attract more traffic. I think Mr. Wilburn talked to that fact at the work session. I know he did at the Planning Commission meeting of it would be more traffic, more intense with the current zoning than what we're trying to basically go down to. And they are proffering to pay for the traffic signal that, as he stated at the work session, is already needed today before they even get there. So I just wanted to point out those couple things. Thank you.
I think, and I appreciate that, Ms. Griffiths. I think my concern is that we might be orienting towards the wrong thing with this MXD designation, that we're talking about, again, if the purpose is to have an area that is, we hear these phrases, live, work, play, all that kind of stuff, and all of that I think drives a lot of these initiatives, but when they're not actually when there's not actually a mixed use here, we're just talking about adding people and the burden that we see, as cited earlier by some of the elements, to our public services and some of those things. We're still, this is still going to drive traffic, whether it's, even if it's less than commercial. So I think that's something that this body may want to consider as we think through the mixed use zoning. We do have another sign up for public hearing, Joseph and Ashley Price.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, if I could just ask a question while they're still up.
Absolutely.
During the work session, and to your point about traffic, we did talk to, Mr. Wilburn did come and talk. Is there any further information? Will that stop, at what point will that stop warrant activation? Do we have a warrant for that with the traffic generated from that development? If you could just address the traffic there for everybody, because not everybody was here for the work session.
I'm Vern Wilburn, 1864 Lower Fayetteville Road. I didn't do a formal warrant study on the projected conditions because they are just that, estimations about future conditions, so it makes it difficult. I can give you a few rules of thumb that you can use to compare to the volumes that we projected. But to further complicate it, there's seven different warrants, so it is a complicated subject. The 8-hour warrant is the most common one, and it requires a certain level of traffic on the main road and then a certain level of traffic on the side road. Very clear that you'll have enough traffic on the main street. Side street, to meet that warrant, it requires about 53 cars an hour for 8 hours. We don't project normally the whole 8 hours. We project peak hours. Peak hour volume coming out of that development, turning left, would be about, I think it was about 81. And so the 8th highest hour, the rule of thumb that I was referring to, is about half of that. So just looking at that, you're going to come up a little bit short. There's an alternate method for looking at it, and that is to consider the Main Street left turn going into the development as opposed to the opposing through movement. So it's a little bit different way. We projected that left turn going in to be actually higher than the left turn coming out. It's about 100. And so it would be even closer, probably close enough to consider it to be met. I'm reluctant to get into some of the others, but you can warrant a signal based on progressive movement. If you think, let me stop and say, if you put a signal there, it should be coordinated with the other signals along the road. And so that would be a way to warrant a signal here, and that being the desirable effect of keeping the platoons together and keeping progressive flow along Newnan Crossing bypass. There's a crash warrant. Of course, we can't really evaluate that now. It's even more difficult to estimate or project that into the future, but I would be concerned that if you don't put a signal there, that you might be looking at installing one later on based on that warrant being satisfied at a later time.
Thank you.
Before he leaves, I have a question. Can you, so this particular project with the traffic volume, and we keep hearing about commercial or a office building would be more traffic. Help us understand, help me understand anyway, how you arrive at those numbers, because stands to reason that we keep hearing about mitigating traffic, we don't want to contribute to traffic and all that stuff, but if it's used for what it's zoned for, then we're really going to create more traffic. And I remember you saying last time, irregardless of what goes in there, needs to be a light there. That'd be correct? That sometimes, I need to know the difference, how you're arriving at the commercial side of always being more, because we hear that all the time. So I want some clarity on that.
Let me just say a couple things. And let me start out answering your last question about needing a light. And, you know, I always struggle with finding a way to communicate these things that we look at in these studies. And I invariably start out talking about levels of service, and I know nobody understands what they mean. You know, I might say a level service D, and you're thinking, well, when I brought that home, my mother didn't like that very much. Well, all standards that we have nationally, you don't have one, by the way, here, and I suggest that you do institute one someday and tell folks like me a level service D is the minimum acceptable. Or if you want a C, I don't know of anybody who does that, but you need to establish what that is. This came up at the Planning Commission, and somebody heard D, and you know they think that's unacceptable. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is acceptable. By any written standards that we have, a D is good. Now, getting to your other question about trip generation, we have data that's published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers that's very reliable. And so for any different use, depending on what it is, there's different rates that we can apply to the size of it and come up with pretty good estimates of how much traffic would be generated. For residential, it turns out to be a little bit less than one trip per dwelling. And most of those are going out in the morning, going to work, and most of them are coming in the afternoon. So, you know, you're looking at, you know, let's just say for a 200 unit development, you're looking at about 200 trips, most of them going out morning, coming out in the afternoon. And then the next thing we do is figure out where they're going to and from and distribute it and then assign that to the different movements. That's how we came up with some of those numbers that I was laying out a minute ago. And those are fairly low numbers. Those are fairly low numbers. When I talk about 100 or 200, the capacity of a two-lane road is about 2,800 cars. So 100 or 200 is a very small proportion of what a two-lane road can carry. A multiple-lane road like that one, like Newnan Crossing Bypass, can carry 2,000 cars for each lane. Now, that's uninterrupted. When you come to a signal or when you talk about trying to get out, you're really looking at a total of 2,000 cars to cross through any one shared space, okay, per lane. And so that just gives you an idea of the magnitude of what we're talking about. Now, if you look at any kind of commercial development, retail, actually, I didn't do this before, but I can tell you right off the bat, just about anything commercial in there is going to generate a whole lot more trips than what we're talking about here. Do you know right offhand what could go in there? How big? Well, those car dealerships, I've got that in the report. I mean, you could look at that and see what they generated. And that's what caused it to go to level Fs before this even comes on. And one thing I might point out that if they're agreeable to putting the signal up there, and again, I'm throwing out levels of service here, but with the signal, that intersection as a whole would operate at level of service B, which is really good, as opposed to Fs. Now, when I say an F, what I'm talking about is an unsignalized intersection.
And, sorry, let me just know, we are running up against time, so if we could,
Okay, well, I think I've answered the question.
I think you have.
That
Thank you,
did,
sir.
thank you, appreciate it.
Any further questions from council? Oh, that we do have Joseph and Ashley Price, or Joseph and Ashley Price. Yes.
Joseph's with our team with PEC.
Okay.
He just signed in case he had to answer any
Okay,
questions.
great.
Thank
Just
you.
wanted to clarify that. With that, is there any comments against the motion from the public? If not, we'll close out public hearing and move into council discussion.
I'm sorry, I'd asked for just a minute of a rebuttal. Could I just
Yes,
respond
absolutely.
to one thing? We're just asking you all to compare this project to the current MXD zoning that exists today and staff's assessment that 5 of the 8 standards on today's MXD zoning are met. We understand that, you know, some of the terms you may want to consider changing in the future, but as of today, we believe that this plan meets what today's MXD zoning is in the city and would ask you to support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we close the public hearing and move into discussion of council. Actually, initially, can we get a motion on the question? Need a motion on the question, then to move into discussion, if we can. Well, we can just move into discussion, that's fine. Can we move into discussion among the council?
I'm fine with.
Yep.
You want us to move into questioning or among ourselves, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and normally we would have a motion for that, but we can just discuss and then move into
Well, I'll make
discussion.
the motion that we move into
Great.
discussion.
Second?
Second.
Great, now discussion.
Yeah, I've got some comments. I do like a lot that this connected to the link and the walkability, the walking trails. And I like the landscape package. I guess what concerns me is two things. And I know we did an MXD adjacent to this not too long ago. And so let's start with that one. I do have a concern over the amount of units that we've approved that haven't been built yet. And in the report, it mentions 1,042. So I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves and have too much supply, and then we have to deal with that issue. So I'd much rather see, and unfortunately, it's a timing issue for you guys, and all right, so, but that, it is what it is, okay? We didn't set the timing, it's just nature did it that way. But so I'm nervous about adding any more apartments until we get everything online. We see how they lease up. We always want to check our economy. But a nice project like this does interest me, the type thing coming to Newnan. The other thing is, I'm reminded over and over, and I grew up knowing that Newnan has always been a county seat. But even more importantly, it's been a center for commercial, retail, services, healthcare for multiple counties for years, and it still is today. I was at Grantville not long ago, and the mayor was talking about, he goes, the traffic in Newnan isn't from the people in Newnan, it's from all the people that don't live in Newnan coming to shop there. And all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? I kind of like hearing that, especially now that we're in a sales tax model, a property model property tax model that we are compensated from sales tax. But the other thing is this, is I don't want to give up our land that would be developed as commercial, retail, services, for residential, for dense residential. I want to save some because I do believe that we have a huge opportunity down the road. Now, when that is, I'm not sure. Obviously, this applicant sees that commercial is viable on that site because they've included it. So we see that before. So I do support that as well. I think it's a viable commercial site. And so I'd like to hold that land for what it's currently zoned for, or at another time when we're out of units, everything's been built that we've approved, then I would like to relook at how much supply we want to add to the market. So that's kind of where I'm at on this project.
I'm very much so in alignment with Councilman Thomason. Our future land use map shows that this is for business and office. And, as we have developed and as we have grown, we are getting down to what's left that is not currently planned to have something built on. Yet we have not done an inventory, which I hope we will with the comprehensive plan update, on the health of our mix of developable land. And business and office, I think, looking at some of the regional development targets and how we're developing as a region, not just Newnan, not just Coweta County, we may have a really good opportunity to get some office here in Coweta County. Look at, Butts County and some others that are getting large office spaces, and some of them out in Newton as far as like Rivian, for instance, but they located their office in Atlanta. Pretty soon we're going to be so far south that won't be feasible. And Newnan will be looking really good to those. So I think that we have to look farther than just today and look much farther out for the future of Newnan, especially as we find ourselves in positions where there's not much undeveloped land left. And we have to prioritize what we're going to hold for the future of our community.
So I'd like to make a couple comments. I agree, but yet I disagree. So based upon the two comments that I've heard, I think it's safe to say we can dispel any issues related to traffic. Because if we adopt or save this particular pieces of property for commercial, it's going to generate more traffic. So that argument absolutely goes out the window. That's my opinion. Based upon what the gentleman just told us about commercial delivering more trips. So when we get in, what's concerning me is that the apartment complex that we approved right next door, and I think Councilman Thomason just alluded to, I think there's in the hopper, there's right around 1,000, is that about it? Where I part ways with the analogy is that if we wait for these particular developments to be developed, actually the one out on Poplar Road, which has been sitting there for, 3 years, 4 years approved. The one that's sitting in Ashley Park, was what, 275, something like that. It's been sitting there for forever and a day with 5 years with no sign of any groundbreaking. So if we wait for these guys to decide when they're going to build, we're going to be waiting a long time before we do anything. Anything that we do is going to affect the growth, it's going to affect services, et cetera. I guess I'm looking at this particular project as I like a lot about it. I don't want my comments about cannibalizing or competing against Ashley Park. It was more comment about how we address something in the future. But this particular project The last time I viewed any car dealership, cars don't get together and decide that they're going to go downtown and eat. People do that. The city needs people to generate revenue, to generate traffic, and every time, every study we've ever had regarding growth, it's always been about people and the movement of people and creating things that are going to attract people. And unfortunately, don't take this the wrong way, we have a city that people actually want to live and come. So I look at those things as a very positive thing. So all of that and the contribution to Ashley Park, contribution to downtown, proximity, we have, because of the planning, because of some of the zoning we have actually promoted this type of growth. Because we got the dealerships, we have some other dealerships going up on the bypass, et cetera. So we are either going to default to no growth in many respects and wait for office buildings to come, or we're going to take this and allow people to come in and move into Newnan because they're going to be living here, they're going to be spending here, and they're going to be maybe working somewhere else. But we can see the trends, and we might want to consider, I think Councilman Jenkins just brought up, is I don't think we have a real pulse. We've done some studies, but I think we need probably another one as to really define for us how our balance is in our growth. So I'm going to end with that, but I support the project.
I have a question, and this is probably back to the developer, if I might. I'm looking at the the diagram of the development, and it's going to have a total of 284 units, and then later on talking about how many parking spots at 505. And then the note, though, says proposed standalone garages. 2 of the proposed garages will be designed for 8 automobiles. 2 for the proposed garages will be designed for 16 automobiles. With that being said, between the garage width, I assume that they're all single-car garages, not double garages, which usually the building standard, it's called a double, 2-car garage, but it's really about a car and a half. So people end up parking out. And then also, the width of the parking space is given in that diagram, between given some of the larger cars, the large trucks and stuff like that, they take up more than one space. Do you think that'll provide ample parking for everybody, so they're not scrambling for parking or parking out, causing a parking issue, basically? Or an issue for if our emergency services have to get in?
Well, I guess the last question certainly will not be an issue for emergency services. It'll definitely be built to International Fire Code for everything that needs to be met there. And I can let our civil engineer speak to the parking a little bit more, but the townhomes have 2-car garages with also room for two cars in the driveway. And then the ones where you see where it says like 16 space garage that's freestanding, those are 1-car garages.
Okay.
And would you like some more clarification from our civil engineer?
It's just if you have just a real brief, like the width, like what kind of cars can you accommodate? Is it wide enough to actually accommodate some of these big lifted pickup trucks?
Yeah. Joseph Price with Planners Engineer, 2039 Westwood Road, Smyrna, Georgia. The parking spaces are 9 feet by 18, which is a very common average across all the Atlanta municipalities. There's only a few that require more. Average trucks, even with a hitch, will fit in that. If you start getting the dualies, that's when they're getting a little wider and a little larger, but your average truck, average van is going to fit in this space.
Okay, so you expect them to be wide enough to accommodate some of the larger SUVs and pickup trucks and such?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. At 9 feet.
If I may, I do agree with the mayor. It does seem odd, based on our current MXD zoning, that this is a mixed-use development. But the applicant has provided a design and a plan that is allowed within our current zoning standards. So this is not what I would have in my mind as a mixed use, but the applicant has brought forth what is allowed, and I just want to everyone keep in mind that there's nothing in here that is not allowed under the current zoning regulations. But some issues that I do have is that the reported tax income, property tax income is, I'm just going to round up to $61,000. Chief Blankenship has stated that this development is going to potentially cost the department just over $41,000 in additional police equipment. Police Chief Brown also feels that there will be additional cost to equipment, wear and tear on their manpower and equipment. So there's not a number assigned to that, but just taking the police number, the tax benefit goes from $61,000 down to about $19,000. And this project only passes 5 out of 8, which is only 62.5% of the allowed standards. And when I was in school, 62 was an F. So I do have some concerns from that aspect. And I think it would be nice to have a better understanding of how much money someone's going to have left after they spend $2,450 a month on a 3-bedroom townhome. I'm not sure how much money they're going to have left to go spend in Ashley Park. I know even if I was living in a 1-bedroom right now at $1,750, I'm going to be eating ramen noodles. So I do have some concerns on that level. The applicant fits the needs of what's zoned, but I just have concerns on the cost that this is going to cost to the city overall. I don't think we're winning. I think our cost of services are going to far exceed the benefits that are outlined in this report.
Further discussion? And I would point to the same, to carry on from that point. Because we have such a minimal amount of commercial space here, we're not going to be generating significant amounts of sales tax revenue either. So we are looking at a development here that seems to be putting a lot of strain on the taxpayers with what seems to be a fairly minimal benefit, if a benefit at all. And again, we are giving up that commercially zoned property for what is, again, functionally, this is a residential space. This is an apartment complex. But that's all I have to say. With that, do we have a motion to call the question or further discussion?
Do we need to accept the report of the planning commission?
Oh, yes. Do we have a motion to accept the report of the planning commission?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And motion on the amendment of the zoning map for this property. Do you have a motion for that?
First, whether or not you want to do it at all.
Well, okay, do we have a motion to that?
I make a motion that we deny the rezoning request as presented.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of denying the rezoning request?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. With that, the motion to deny carries. Moving on to item L, public hearing for the rezoning request for RZ 2025-8 by Stephen Jones on behalf of Parkland Home Builders LLC for plus or minus 32 acres on Celebrate Life Parkway from CCS to RMH for the purpose of developing a 220-unit multifamily rental project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dean Smith, for the Senior Planner and Planning Department. Before we get to the merits of this request, the applicant did submit a request to continue this hearing to March 24th. At this point, you all may decide if you wish to accept that continuance or if you wish to proceed with the hearing as been advertised for this evening.
Do we have a motion to accept that continuance?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
In
sorry,
fact-
opposed. Sorry.
As long as the applicant pays
Exactly.
to re-advertise and
Thank you.
Yes.
Accept that tagged onto my motion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A second to the amended motion?
Second.
All in favor of accepting the continuance with the stipulation?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Yeah, no problem. Moving on to item M, a request from Sandra Strozier, President and CEO of the Newnan Housing Authority, to waive the 2025 pilot payment to the city of Newnan. Ms. Strozier, if you would take the floor.
Hello, my name is Sandra Strozier. I'm the President and CEO of the Housing Authority of Newnan. Hello.
Hello? You take the floor.
Oh, okay. I sent a letter. I was here last week, so I guess I'm like want to start where I ended. But I sent you everyone an email to give you some additional information on my request. I hope everybody got that. Do you have any questions?
I might have a question for staff. I know that we're coming up on our budgeting windows. Would this create any particular hardships for the city's budget or our budgeting process if we did waive this payment?
This payment is for the 2025 budget year. It's due after the end of the budget year. We are about to close out our 2012 year budget, and as I reported at the retreat, we're expected to have a positive fund balance. So no, this would not have an effect on 2025. Obviously, 2026, we did calculate in estimated pilot. But I think I told this body in an email that if this body were to set our millage rate to zero, as had been previously discussed in the pilot agreement between the city and the housing authority, the pilot agreement cannot exceed what would have been paid if the property was taxable. So there's a good chance if you set it to zero that she would not owe the fee. The housing authority would not owe it in 2026.
And also, just to clarify for the record, this is a payment between government entities. This is moving money from the balance sheet within the government from one side to the other, correct?
Yes. In the pilot agreement, which I think I mentioned to you also in the email, the pilot agreement was formed in 1962.
Yes.
And it typically referred to the project, which was the Hannah Homes project. And the payment fee was for services that the city provided for the project. So obviously, if you wanted to continue in a pilot arrangement, it may be a good thing to review a 64-year-old agreement. It may not be applicable as it stands today.
Thank you.
How is the $106,879 calculated? How do we arrive at that number?
It is based on our rental income, and our original payments were probably around less than 40,000, around that amount.
Yeah, they stayed in the
Yeah.
40, 50,000 range for years, and then the last couple of years they had jumped.
Well,
but it's part of the
yeah.
pilot. It's 10% of your.
So
of
I
your
have to
rent.
brag now.
Yeah.
Why? In the Housing Authority of Newnan is a high-performing organization, housing authority, and we received a HUD score of over 90. Because of that, we were allowed to join one of a group called Moving to Work. We were the only housing authority in the state of Georgia that received that designation when we joined, and then we're only one of 3 that are considered moving to work. And what that means is the majority of our residents work. We encourage them to work, we assist them to find jobs, we help them to purchase their own homes. So because of that, our pilot went from 40,000 to 106,000. On top of that, then our the trash collection went from around $80,000 to almost $200,000. So even though our rental income went up, if you add the amount of the additional charges that we had to pay for trash collection, it didn't really mean anything. And then if we still have to pay the $100,000 so you're talking about probably a third of our budget is going towards trash and pallet.
Ms. Schroeder, I understand that we've waived this twice before, is that correct?
Yeah,
and all we can remember? Yep.
We did the park over at Boone Drive.
Good, and so this, this is something that you do, I'm sure with a lot of thought and before you bring it before us. I mean, in lieu of the fact that next year it goes to zero, and I do understand what you're talking about, how the numbers, the 130, the 106 that you owe, 106,879 that you owe us is was increased by things not necessarily in your control.
Right.
And with that, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion, if I may, that we approve waiving this pilot in
Second.
the amount of $106,879.
Great. Any discussion?
Well, I have some questions for Mr. Ogier. So could you just explain for us a little bit more in detail how many units there are, and does every single unit have one trash can, or do you use dumpsters? I mean, and is there any way we
Okay.
could cut the cost on that
Well,
moving forward?
well, we were not able to go out for bids, but I've talked with the possibility of us getting additional bids, but we would have to put dumpsters on, our properties are scattered. So you would have dumpsters all over the, the city. We have 470 units that are spread out all over the city. So our properties are not in one location. And so when you change the sanitation company, that made our bills go from 89 to 200 because we're considered residential. So, we receive no benefit from that. So, and even if we did do the dumpsters, I don't think that would look good because our streets are dedicated to the city. That's one of the things that, within that agreement we have, the streets belong to the city, so we wouldn't have locations to put those dumpsters.
So for every other resident of the city, we have to, we all pay our garbage bills.
Right.
And for those that are like elderly or handicapped, they get backdoor service. Does anybody
Yes.
get backdoor service? And what's the process for somebody to get backdoor service?
They have to turn in a medical, we turn in a medical statement from their doctor
Okay.
to get that back door.
So similar to
Yeah.
anybody that does that has to have
Yeah.
that, go through that process. All right, thank you.
But we pay the trash. The residents do not pay the trash. The housing authority pays that.
So are you paying bulk trash, like the claw truck, are you paying bulk trash services
Yes,
for 470 units?
yes.
And I'll just, for instance, y'all own the property on Hollis Heights there, that
Those
unit,
are, yeah,
right?
those are ours.
So, if there's 10 units in there, you're paying, considering what we view as bulk trash, that's for me to go put stuff at the end of my driveway, and then my neighbor puts it at their driveway,
Right,
and
yeah,
so on
they
and so
have
forth. But do they have
trash.
kind of a one local place?
No,
Could
no.
that be arranged to have one place? Do the people that live there trim the bushes back?
No,
and
we do that. The housing authority handles that.
And then where does that debris go on that site? Does it go out to the street to be picked up, or do you carry it off-site?
That's one of the services the city provides for us.
So that's kind of an area where I'm saying is it might be good for to be reviewed that if there's 10 units there, do you need to pay 10 units worth of bulk services? If you could consolidate your, putting your bulk
Into
debris
one.
out on the road for the claw truck to pick up, that's one stop for the claw truck. It's not 10 stops, therefore you shouldn't be charged 10x.
Oh, okay. Well, we would only put it at one location anyway,
But
because if we picked it up, we would only put it at one location.
But
We
if you
wouldn't
only-
put it at,
If you're being charged per unit, that's what I'm saying.
that's
you'd be-
for the actual trash can, the pickup.
But each account comes with a bulk trash service fee,
Oh, okay.
right? Am I wrong in that? Yeah.
I think that, every situation is a little different. We are very urban, so there are not very large yards.
Yeah.
You could end up with a bunch of people dumping a lot of stuff in one spot, and it would be blocking sidewalks, blocking views, and unsightly. And I live right down the street from their very well-maintained properties on MLK.
Sure.
I would not want to see one dumping spot.
But if they're doing all the maintenance, then why does there need to be a bulk pickup service? I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help you save money. Think through saving money. I don't have a problem with it. I just
Maybe
want
if
you
we
to-
have to renovate a unit or something, but in some cases, we would rent a dumpster for that
Sure.
type of renovation,
Yeah.
and then it goes away. So I
I think
don't
it's just
think
a
we
thought
have a
to-
large amount of waste that's put out in one place. unless there's something going on, construction or something like that.
Might worth a conversation, to
Okay.
reduce that bulk, not the trash can service, but the bulk
But
waste fee.
I hadn't even thought about that. We would like that to be considered if that, because the housing authority is paying that
Right.
for each resident.
Yeah.
And Ms. Strozer, just as a quick question, is the Housing Authority considering some of these alternate options for garbage pickup that could hopefully reduce that
With your
cost?
permission, yes, we would love to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you-
Well, the only other consideration, we don't want to lose any service that we get automatic, like everybody else, because we would end up going with a private company. It would maybe change some of the services that we would receive, so we would
Is
not.
that what you're referring to?
We don't want to lose anything.
Okay, so when you say, would you consider any of these other options, you're talking about actually going out to other companies and trying to find something less expensive. And my understanding is you cannot do that in the city.
That's why I'm saying I would
Right.
have to have permission. Yeah.
That is correct.
And then some of these additional services, like the
The
back.
bulk service.
Okay, the
Yep.
bulk, but the the backdoor service?
Yes, yes.
Is it, all right, so that's for people with a medical something. But my understanding is that if they have a medical letter from their doctor, then it is free?
Just
And
the,
waives the fee?
not the whole fee, just that service.
The upcharge.
Okay.
Just
Waive
that
the upcharge.
charge. And we're right now reconciling that with the customer service, because I think we were charged
You have some.
something, I think we found out some of those, we're clearing that up. So they may adjust some, but it's only for that particular service.
So related, I'm sorry,
Yep.
related to the backdoor service for the medical letter, who monitors that? Is that you?
Well, we just now reconciling, we have not monitored it, so now we're gonna have to look at it, because I think
So
we
it'd
were
be safe to-
charged for some of those services.
Right, so some were,
Yes.
got
And
it.
that added
Call
to
the
our
question?
$200,000 bill.
And you do like an annual review on those?
Yes, we're doing that now.
Mr. Mayor, can we call the question?
Yes, and so we're visiting Councilman Thomason's motion. We have a motion on the floor to call. Without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
With that, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Strozer.
Thank you.
Item N, we move into consideration of the City of Newnan Cemetery's Master Plan Final Report for 2026.
Ms. Shea and I are going to work towards this. As the presentation's coming up, I want to say, number one, I don't work for WLA Studios. I work for the City of Newnan. Unfortunately, our consultant, who's been here in front of this body before, couldn't be here today. They're traveling. Thank you, Ms. Shea. So I'm going to do my best to kind of walk us through here, but for those that were on the council prior to June 13th, this should not be terribly new to you. But what should be new is the updates included, particularly in the future use concepts. They took a lot of all of the comments from the council and incorporated those into what I'll show you here in a minute. For conversation's sake, WLA Studios was hired in 2025 to put together a master plan for the maintenance of our current publicly owned cemeteries, and then to look at how we may develop those and manage those over the next 20-plus year time horizon. There's a lot of information given to you in your packet that talks to this. I'm not going to go through with great detail into each and every piece of this. This document was made available to you. It's on our website. We can make it available in a different way if you'd like to look at it some more. However, what it is, it's a guiding document, again, that allows staff to have a plan to help us understand how to fund the improvements, one, to maintain what we currently have, and two, how to look forward towards the future. As stated in your report, WLA Studios first started with an inventory assessment and analysis of what we have. They went in, they looked, what's the current condition of our cemeteries at Eastview Annex, Eastview, and Oak Hill. For just a point of emphasis, this Farmer Street Cemetery Commission and their work in the Farmer Street Cemetery Plan is not included in the work of WLA. That was done by another group. We talked about that at your last meeting. So that there's an appendix that shows that as part of it, but that's not part of WLA's scope of work. What WLA found was that there are some immediate aesthetic improvements to Eastview and Eastview Annex. And so as you can see on the slide I've shown here, which is page 4 in the master plan document, that talks to trying to bring, if you will, those two cemeteries up to a standard, which is the term that they use, which would include, enhancing the gateways, some signage, some perimeter fencing, et cetera. It moves on there into general improvements and cemetery care for the visitor's experience, so improving landscaping, having an arborist go through and do some kind of enrichment, if you will, of the existing softscapes, creating greater accessibility on the maintenance side of things. Some of our cemeteries have not had the attention that they probably need and deserve, all cemeteries. And so that's phase 2 of this. And then it looks at planned expansion at Oak Hill. And that's over time, but that is to accommodate what WLA Studios believes will be future cemetery service needs. And so I'm using those terms specifically because what you'll see in the information provided is that over time, traditional burials are becoming less common than they were in generations in the past. And they have some information from a Philadelphia-based firm named, give me a second, I'm sorry, Urban Partners, that did market analysis based upon our historic cemetery service needs and those nationally and by denomination. So how are different denominations moving through that cycle of life and death? And so cremations have become more popular, so the need for space has become less necessary. And so they incorporated all of that into their recommendations that eventually show an enlargement of potential burial spaces and areas, but also some concepts and designs to include areas to accept cremations and the like. And so what you have up here now shows the Eastview Cemetery plan for future, which would enhance the roadways, create another roadway enhancement along the road out here to create a perimeter fence, decorative fencing, additional trees, softscape, and then managing this roadway system kind of in a more professional way. That's the concept that's being presented in the master plan. The master plan for Eastview Annex includes an enhancement here of pedestrian walkways, areas for cremations, a line tree system through here, additional landscaping around here, and then the lines through here would be for more traditional burial types. Again, this is for the future phase. This is not maintenance. Maintenance would come first of existing assets, then this would come second. And then third, Oak Hill. This is, if you can get in your minds, to kind of the north side of Oak Hill. Down here would be Bullsboro Drive. So as you come in into the back area, expanding some of those traditional burial areas, if you will, and then creating kind of more of a meandering path through that would accommodate both some cremains and then traditional burials, but using the topography to kind of create almost like a garden, if you will, a movement instead of this traditional blocked type situation that's been historically used over time. This is the southern end of that, where the plan calls for this area right here to actually be kind of almost solely dedicated to cremated remains. So again, these are master plans. These are concepts and things that could be advanced with the adoption of this plan by design professionals in the future. But this is a guiding tool that city staff can use to, one, make improvements to maintain and enhance what we have now, and then look towards the future. This is some of that information I was talking to you about from Urban Partners about potential need over time for burials, types, numbers in here. This can be found on page 48 of the plan. I'm not going to read all that. Additional here about that from between 2025 and 2040, what their 15-year projection of interment needs by cemetery and then by type. And as you'll see, it calls out that there are needs. They believe, WLA does believe that in this scenario that if we follow the plan that they've prescribed here, that we could maintain and allow for 65 to 70 year capacity at Eastview Annex for continued cemetery service types, and a 70-plus year capacity for cemetery service types at Oak Hill. Here's the opinion of probable cost estimates. One, starting out with maintenance activities and then moving into future plan. We're not going to be able to put a hard number on what these plans may look like until we have a design professional come in and look at those. But we have some cost figures in there on page 78 of the plan. We encourage you to look at those. This is all for Eastview and Eastview Annex. And then this is for Oak Hill. That's the end of the slideshow. I can answer any questions you may have, but if I can circle back one time, this helps provide a roadmap for city staff to kind of make improvements. And I believe we have, correct me, Mr. Phillips, if I'm wrong, $1 million in this year's,
A little
a
over
little
$1
bit,
million.
$1.2 million in this year's budget.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Go back to the site map for Eastview Annex, please. There. I know the last time that we looked at this, I asked about creating opportunities for more than just in-ground burial
Yes, ma'am.
on this site. Did
That's
that change get made?
Yes, ma'am. Right here in this general area.
Okay.
This area is for cremations, a columbarium.
Okay. And then did they adjust their numbers any? Because they were making their numbers based on the condition that Eastview is in now, the projections. They were saying this is the number of burials that are happening there now, and therefore this is how we're projecting it out. And my point in the last time we talked about this was with making significant improvements to both Eastview and Eastview Annex, you may actually have a desire for people to want to be buried there. And so did they make those adjustments or look back at their data and say, you know what, we were kind of lowballing this because of the condition
Yes,
that
ma'am.
it's in now?
They did. So here again on page 48, I think that's correct. This green scenario, I'm just going to call it out, talks about if the council were to adopt the plans that were shown in the graphics shown here, this is what they believe this would be versus that. So this is
Okay.
so yes, ma'am, they did that. And they also, the one other thing was the community survey, and they went out and they did that and collected information from the community, and that's included in an appendix in the full plan.
Mr. Mayor, I got a question. So adopting this, we don't bind ourselves, it's just a roadmap.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So anything that we do comes back for approval, project by project, is that
Well,
correct?
That's a great question, Councilman Thomason. On page 5 in the executive summary of the plan, there is a recommended improvement priority table, and it goes from high priority, medium priority, low priority, and as was stated by Ms. Kelsey, we have over $1.2 million in the budget, in the 26 budget. And I'm just going to read some of the priority items in the high priority that are things that we can do with the allocated funds. We have gateway wall and fence in Eastview Annex and Eastview. We've got some road repairs in Eastview. We've got invasive species control in Eastview and Oak Hill. We've got, what I'm saying is we got a series of things, maintenance-related, entry features, roadway condition improvements that we have money budgeted to do this year. Those are items that if you approve this plans, I'm going to get my staff starting on delivering those improvements.
Okay, great.
And without the adoption of a plan, staff doesn't have a roadmap to proceed with getting that information. Some of these items are going to be, more expensive, and they're going to require bidding, they're going to require council acceptance of the bids. I imagine when we build the entryway features, that's going to be something over our threshold, and certainly we'll come back to this body. When we start doing invasive species control, that's probably something that, won't come back to this body. It's kind of a maintenance operational item, but this is the roadmap that's going to give us direction to spend those allocated funds. Without such directions, the funds will just sit there unspent.
Okay, two more things. Thank you for that.
You have a copy of
One is, I had a call from John Davidson, I don't know,
I
a
can't
couple of months
pull it
ago.
up.
He's a local funeral home operator. And Councilman Jenkins, in talking about the capacity, and I don't know, I'm not in the business, but what he shared was the trend toward cremation is significant. And so in the green bubble that was up there, it mentioned for Eastview that, I mean, unlimited is a big number, but basically unlimited capacity for cremation. So it makes me feel like if we go that direction in that cemetery, that we are addressing what the market's doing. And the next thing, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we adopt the new City of Newnan Cemetery's master plan final report,
Do we have a second?
2026.
Second.
Are we adopting or just accepting, or does it matter?
Adopting the plan.
Adopting the plan.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I do. I see the high priorities list here, and there's no numbers attached to it on this page.
Not on that page.
Okay.
No, but
So,
there's numbers in other parts of the plan.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't want to adopt anything that doesn't include very high priority of getting Eastview fixed.
That gets Eastview fixed.
What we've got for this year.
Now, we're going to take the $1.2 million, and if you look at that list, the top 8 or 10 items on that list are either all Eastview Annex, or both, correct?
Yes, they are.
We're going to take that $1.2 million as running as far down that list in order as we can get it.
Okay, thank you.
With that, seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? With that, the motion carries. With that, we move into item O, discussion and consideration of appointments to the City of Newnan's Comprehensive Plan 2026 to 2024, or 2046, Steering Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Chris Cole, Senior Planner. At the January 27th, 26th council meeting, staff brought to your attention the need for appointments to the Comp Plan Steering Committee. As the council directed at that meeting, staff utilized the same method used in 2021 to find volunteers and quickly found a group of people who have agreed to serve. As shown in the attachment before you, the various city boards and commissions are represented. We also obtained volunteers from the Chamber of Commerce, the Newnan Coweta History Center, and the school system. The steering committee must also include at least one council member. So we would ask the council at this time to review and approve the list of steering committee volunteers, as you see attached in your packets, and appoint at least one council member to the steering committee. Thank you.
Two quick questions. One, in terms of these volunteers, does this represent the size of the steering committee that we're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you.
Too.
So do we make a motion to appoint somebody from the council, right?
Yes.
All right, I'd like to nominate Scott Berta, please.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? With that, the motion carries.
All right.
Do we also have a, do we have a motion to adopt the other,
I make
the
a
other
motion
appointments?
to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item P, consideration of an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Alcohol Section 3-9, to combine retail package and retail consumption licenses.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Shepherd, members of the council. This is in response to our friends from Cooper's Hawk who came last month, right? Yeah, I'm looking over at her. Thank you for being here today and waiting through our meeting. So this combines the on-site consumption and retail license. As when we last talked about it, this corporate body seemed to be in favor of it. We've done so. Our city attorney's drafted language. It's in front of you. We can try and answer any questions you may have.
Just to clarify for the record,
Yes, sir.
assuming that there were, if we pass this, there's still the process of state certificate, or the state licensing that they have to go through, which, will have to be considered as they move forward, particularly with this location.
Yes,
Any
sir.
issues that may come up with the, their club or any of those kinds of things would be under state review, correct?
Correct, yes, sir. They would come to the city first, then they would go to the state.
Great.
So they have to have both.
I do have a question. This one is, we're just directing you all to draft the,
No, sir.
this is it. You've already got it drafted. We're ready to go?
It's
Okay.
here.
No one has any questions. I'll make a motion. We good? I'd like to make a motion that we consider the amendment we accept the amendment to the codes of ordinances, Chapter 3, alcohol, Section 3.9, for the purposes of combining retail and consumption licenses.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, or any further discussion? Sorry, I don't think. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries. We have a request from Jason Walton with Foundation Church for additional street closures. I don't think Jason wants to talk to us if he doesn't have to. I did have a question.
Second.
Oh, wait, just very quickly, I had one very quick question for Chief Blankenship. Do we foresee any hardship to you in terms of making this happen?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor. Jason is submitted it, their interest in hiring an extra duty officer for the roadway to help for the event, and I don't see any problems with it.
With that, do we have a motion to accept?
You already did.
Okay, well, then seconded. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Do we have items for executive session? With no items for executive session,
Make a motion that we,
adjourn?
Second.
Second.
We are adjourned.